So, ladies and gentlemen, it's in May 1988, and in the Maritimes, especially in New Brunswick, we're getting ready to watch the latest episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. It was being shown before Hockey Night in Canada on most CBC networks. But what was shown that evening came with an advisory. Parental guidance suggested, and we're saying to yourself, Star Trek? What could be negative on Star Trek? Well, when Conspiracy came on, we knew right away that the media would be talking about this episode forever, and I consider it a top 5 Star Trek: The Next Generation episode. Some people give it top 25, but because it's a sequel from a previous episode where they were trying to find out if there was someone who was going to betray the Federation, it really, really stands out. Now, again, this is the 25th and penultimate episode of the first season of the syndicated American sci-fi series, the unofficial sequel to Star Trek: The Classic Series. Now, this episode aired on May 9th, 88 in the States and the same time in Canada. The premise was conceived by the show's creator, Gene Roddenberry, the single-sentence overview titled The Assassins, being expanded to a 30-page story by Robert Sabaroff. From this, the teleplay was produced by Tracy Torme and the episode directed by Cliff Bole. Now, set in the 24th century, the series follows the adventures of the Starfleet crew of the Federation starship Enterprise D. Following a meeting with a fellow captain, the strange behavior of high-ranking officers leads Jean-Luc Picard, played by Patrick Stewart, and the crew of the Enterprise to uncover a conspiracy of senior Starfleet officers possessed by parasitic aliens who are preparing to invade the United Federation of planets. Not the same as the alien bugs of Star Trek II, but pretty close, maybe a first cousin. Now, again, numerous makeup effects were created by makeup supervisor Michael Westmore, including an exploding head using raw meat. Don't want to give away the plot, but that was a big scene. There were concerns by producers that some of the effects were too graphic, but after viewing by a staff member's son, they decided to broadcast it uncut, but with the advisory in Canada. The episode has subsequently been included in some best episode lists of the series and won one of three Primetime Emmy Awards for The Next Generation's first season. Controversial when originally broadcast, the more graphic elements were cut from broadcast in the United Kingdom and again required a warning before airing in Canada. Now, the weird part about this, imagine if I Love Lucy had a possession plot. This is what it is. Now, the guest appearances were quite strong. Henry Darrow was Admiral Savar. Ward Costello was Admiral Gregory Quinn. A very, very interesting performance. 90-year-old man beating up Riker has to be seen to be believed. Robert Shecklin as Lieutenant Commander Dexter Remick. Ray Reinhardt as Admiral Aaron. Johnson Farwell as Captain Walker Keel, the catalyst of the episode. Michael Berryman as Captain Ricks. And the luminous Ursuline Bryant as Captain Dryler Scott. One of the few black captains in Star Trek history. Now, in this one, Captain Picard receives a highly confidential message from Captain Walker Keel of the USS Horatio. Keel refuses to discuss his concerns and insists on a face-to-face meeting. At the session, Keel reports strange orders from Starfleet headquarters and what he implies are suspicious deaths of Starfleet officers and expresses concern of a conspiracy. Picard, as Lieutenant Commander Data, review all orders issued by Starfleet Command in the past 6 months. Data finds several strange orders from senior levels of Starfleet, and Picard orders the Enterprise to Earth. As it approaches the home planet, a transmission received from a trio of Starfleet admirals, Savar, Aaron, and Quinn. The admirals are surprised by the Enterprise presence, but invite Captain Picard and Commander Riker to dinner. After witnessing the Admiral's bizarre behavior and discussion of a superior life form, Dr. Crusher discovers that a bug-like parasite has wrapped his tendrils around the stem of Quinn's brain and is controlling him. This came after the shit-kicking between Riker and Worf. Worf goes through the wall. At dinner, it is revealed that the parasites are seeking to take over Starfleet using humanoids as hosts. Riker and Picard subdue the infected men, causing parasites to leave the host and flee. One of the parasites scurries under a closed door, where Picard and Riker find Quinn's assisting Remick eating the parasite. Picard and Riker fire upon Remick, destroying his body but freeing a giant parasite. The two continue to fire until it is destroyed. Dr. Crusher reports that the other parasites have shriveled up and died, as they're unable to survive without the mother creature that has been having them. Has to be seen to be believed. You see, this episode flows so quickly and is so well put together. But the problem is you have to see the initial episode where one of the main characters comes on the Enterprise, led by Quinn, and basically saying there's something going on in Starfleet. But when they returned, or one of them is acting very suspicious because he's been too nice, and the second one, our main guy, he seems a little bit more energetic than usual. Now, the situation with Conspiracy, why Admiral Quinn, played by Warwick Costello, he is extremely a good actor. But the scenes where, again, he's beating up Riker and Worf after being found out, rank as some of the most interesting stunt work ever done by the 80-year-old man, or supposedly 80-year-old man, in action history. Again, has to be seen and believed. And the end of the episode where they're sending out a signal like in the bugs to wherever it is. Now, this was before the Borg, and this might tie in a little bit to Picard, because with the shapeshifters trying to take over Starfleet, are the bugs as part of the series? We don't know yet. We'll have to see. Now, Gene Roddenberry originated the idea for the episode in a single-sentence proposal entitled The Assassins. Robert Sabaroff expanded this idea to 30 pages, but his version was seen as too expensive. They were talking about a movie of this. Tracy Torme was then given a job of rewriting it, but some producers thought the new version was too dark until Roddenberry saw it and endorsed the new version. In one of the original versions, it was a faction within Starfleet who were conspirators rather than alien parasites, but Roddenberry did not like showing Starfleet itself in such a dark manner. Wired magazine has suggested that the premise was based on the Iran-Contra affair. Look it up. Now, the director of the episode, Cliff Bole, was a school friend of makeup supervisor Michael Westmore, and Westmore does great effects here. The scene with Remick at the end of the episode was added in post-production, as it was originally scripted to have Riker and Picard come face-to-face with a full-size mother creature. Now, the creature is quite large when it comes out of Remick's body. The part where the parasite enters Remick's throat reportedly took too many takes, because the bulging effect was made by Westmore blowing into air bladders under a false neck, and Bole kept trying to make Westmore hyperventilate from the exertion. The parasites were created by Makeup and Effects Laboratories from a design by Rick Sternbach. A mold of Paul Newman's face was filled with raw meat and blown up to create the effect used when Picard and Riker fire on Remick, but Rick Berman and Peter Lorsten were concerned that it was too graphic. Dan Curry invited his 6-year-old son to watch the episode in order to test how children react to it, but the boy reportedly liked it so much that he suggested the creation of a Remick action figure whose head would blow up pressing a button, which seems a lot more strange, as we say. Now, the eye about Commander Dexter, he was seen as evil in the previous episodes, and we really don't know he was possessed at the time or just hiding the fact he was taken over by the bugs. Now, several props and effects seen in the episodes were reproduced from the Star Trek movies, including the shots of Earth and Space Dock 1 and the painting used of Starfleet Command. The doors to the room where dinner is served were reused from Season 2 on the set for 10 Forward. Doesn't explain where the bugs came from. Now, the episode also features 2 first appearances. The Ambassador-class starship was mentioned the first time, and Horatio was a member of this class, as well as the Enterprise C, and it also marks the first time that a Bolian had been seen on Star Trek, the species having been named after the episode's director. Although the parasites never reappeared in the Star Trek series, they are found in the Deep Space Nine relaunch novels, where they are revealed to be mutated Trill symbiotes. They also reappear in several episodes of the game Star Trek Online. The parasite, known as bluegills, are bioengineered from the Solani on behalf of the Konians. They are not capable of infecting a joined Trill. See, the episode has a lot of positives, but there are a few negatives. I have to get into it. Somebody acting by Riker, like when his eyes bulge out when he's getting a shit kicking by the Admiral, don't make any sense. The fact that poor makeup job that Crusher uses to kind of mimic the bug could not be believed in a million years. And they're using spooky noises when the three captains meet Picard on the planet. So other than that, that's the only negatives. But there's a lot going on. This is probably one of the best non-movies in Star Trek history that should have been a movie. I'd like to see another 60 minutes to give back time to some of the characters, like when a Vulcan gets taken over. Now, when Conspiracy aired in broadcast syndication within the States during the week commencing May 13th, 88, it received Nielsen ratings of 9.4, reflecting the percentage of all households watching the episode during its time slot. There was a decrease of 0.3 ratings points for the previous episode, Will Always Have Paris, and was less than the 10.2 rating received by the following episode, The Neutral Zone. Again, due to the nature of its content, a warning was aired before Conspiracy was screened in Canada. It was initially banned by the BBC in the UK, but was later aired on BBC Two in a bowdlerized form. The episode was nominated with Coming of Age for Best Makeup at the 40th Primetime Emmy Awards, winning the prize, one of the 3 Emmys won by the show that year. Now, several reviewers rewatched Star Trek The Next Generation at the end of the series. Keith DeCandido for Tor.com described the episode as a nasty one that doesn't quite cohere to the level of nasty it could, but that the series doesn't do horror action all that often. It also serves a good change of pace, if nothing else. Some criticizing, saying that the admirals that were turned evil reminded him of a Bond villain convention, and one writer talking about it gave an overall grade of B, which was Zach Hanlon of the Eight League Club. Now, Conspiracy was included as an honorable mention in the list of best episodes of Star Trek by the San Jose Mercury News. It was also included in a list of the best and worst episodes by Scott Thrill and Wired magazine as one of the best, describing the reactions to the episode as polarizing and suggesting that Conspiracy might be worthy of becoming a plot in a future film by J.J. Abrams. Now, the Wired magazine ranked Conspiracy as one of the best Star Trek The Next Generation eps in a 2012 review. Do you know the creative plot involving a threat to the Federation? Now, in 2016, Radio Times rated Explosion of Remick as the 50th greatest scene in Star Trek. Bullshit, that's a top 10 scene. No, anyway, the Hollywood Reporter was the last one to do their ratings. It listed the episode as the 25 best of Star Trek. Should it be top 10? Now, GameSpot noted this episode as one of the most bizarre moments of the series, as the startlingly graphic explosion and melting of a parasitic alien and host drew a lot of ire. Now, the episode was first released on VHS on May 26, 1993. It was later included on a Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1 DVD in March 2002. Conspiracy was also released as a part of a Season 1 Blu-ray set on July 24th, 2012. Now, on first viewing and the numerous viewings, it really stands out because how crappy the first part of the season was. And of course, you know, the infamous, the most racist piece of shit that I won't even talk about anymore, where the black people on this planet were, you know, have their women fight over men, craziness like that. But the idea, Riker wasn't the Riker he was in second and third season. Picard was finally coming in, but the band looked at Riker and Picard give Remick when they're blowing him up the first time. It's kind of we got to do it a second time. But like I said, it was talked about for months afterwards. And a lot of people who didn't watch Star Trek didn't allow the kids to watch Star Trek because once word came out about this, he said, oh, well, just a schlock thing. Up until that, you had very little, you know, strange deaths on the show. Like I said, very rare. That was more season 2 and season 3. But like I said, this was a horror filmed episode that, you know, if you really look at the 1980s, this was the first episode that beckoned what he called the violent 1990s TV, which was more prevalent, especially in the Canadian horror shows. You look at Outer Limits and different stuff. But for me, it really stands out because if you really like Picard and Riker as a team, you could not have defeated the threat to the Federation were to not work together. It was the massive team up, Batman and Robin. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my theory and my thoughts on Conspiracy. If you like what you're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.